That's the first thing we say. Or listen, when good things happen to someone else, someone who don't even believe, that's the first thing we say because that's what we do. Because one thing we need to always be is thankful. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes we are not, like I said, unless it's the gravy train. Or we thankful for the gravy train. You know what I'm saying? But how many of y'all was thankful when y'all went into the store the first time when the pandemic was busting out? And you looked over there, wasn't no paper towels. You looked over there, wasn't no toilet paper. You looked over there, wasn't no bread. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, I know in each one of y'all's cases, even though y'all lack those things in that particular store, God found a way to get those things to you, right? See, so that's why you have to hang on to see where things are going. The congregation of saints sketches a setting of public corporate worship. The saints are those who demonstrate fidelity in their relationship with Lord. They are not the ones who chase false gods or rebelliously disobey his commands. And remember, a false god don't have to be, Buddha or one of them. Your house could be your false god. Your girl could be your false god. Your husband, your car, whatever you value. You don't supposed to value anything above God. Sister Price, Sandy's got things going on, so we'll have to read two. That's all right. Let her read two, and then you can pick up the read two, Sister Price.
Let Israel rejoice in him that made him. Let the children of Zion be joyful in his king.
Okay. Again, we see, and listen, here's one thing. When we're in Sunday school or we're in church or whatever, we're not going to let y'all stop from being human, okay? So whatever y'all got to do, y'all got to do. We're not mad about it. We just happy that you're here. Again, we see parallelism that often characterizes Hebrew poetry. Let Israel relate to let the children of Zion. Rejoice relates to be joyful. In him that made him is to their king. Such parallelism means that it's a mistake to see Israel and the children of Zion referring to different groups. In the same way, rejoice and be grateful and joyful repeat one another. Piling up phrases had to have the same meaning or similar meaning emphasizes their importance. Though English may read like a suggestion of permission, it is actually a common way of translating Hebrew commands. They're not asking you to do this. They're not telling you it would be a good idea. They're telling you, do this, without question. This verse also gives reason for expressing joy. The two lines refer to the same being, namely God, but two different ways. First, the Lord is not only the creator of humans in general, but the one who created the nation of Israel and the cosmos in particular. Second, the Lord is Israel's ruler. As subjects of his rule, the Israelites were beneficiaries of his protection. The Israelites are abundantly reminded that even though their early monarchies had come to an end, God was still their leader. He made them a nation and he could and would sustain them as such. Now, Sandy, we can get you to read 3 and 4.
Let them praise his name in the dance. Let them sing praises unto him with the tremble and harp.
Okay, hold on. Let me drop this off, and then you can go to the next one. Here, the psalmist provides a means for expression and praise. Dancing to song and musical instruments indicates boisterous, unrestrained worship. And the identities of the tenor harp that says see Psalms 150 below, so we'll get to that. Okay, now 4, Sandy.
For the Lord taketh pleasure in his people. He will beautify the meek with salvation.
Thank you, ma'am. Because this psalm was composed after the return of the Babylonian exile, Ezra 7 finds a particularly fitting backdrop. In Ezra 7:27, the words here translated beautify is used to decorate the temple and the approval of the Persian monarchy. In a similar way, the Lord was working on the hearts of the people. The meek are humble, which is the same way translated in Psalms 9, 1, 2, 12, 10, 17, and elsewhere. This may be in spiritual sense. Such people are aware of their low position before the Lord, or it may be meant in a physical sense. The people experienced great uncertainty when they arrived back in Judah. They were certainly not wealthy of high standing. Salvation in the Old Testament describes deliverance from enemies. For the vulnerable population the newly returned to Jerusalem and Judah, God's protection would indeed have been a comfort. The word salvation can also be used for deliverance from sin, though this is much more prevalent to the New Testament as the word that comes from Hebrew. Because remember, the people wanted to be delivered from them, right? They wanted to be delivered. Listen, they didn't care about being delivered from sin. You know what I'm saying? And they feel like, well, we God's people, so no matter what we do, it's going to be good. Okay, but that wasn't the truth. Because that's what got them into exile. And Moses told them way back there when they was on Mount Hebron there, and they was on one side of the mountain or the other, and he's talking about what would happen if you followed the Lord, all the blessings that would happen, and what would happen if you left, then all the curses would happen. Well, all the curses came before. See, but remember, two things. They thought that nothing would ever happen to them because they were God's people. And the temple, they thought that the temple was protected by God and it would never be destroyed. Of course, it didn't come out that way, did it? Okay, now I'm not going to work you out to death, so the C heading is called Another Call to Praise. And comprises verse 5, which I'll read. Let the saints be joyful in glory. Let them sing aloud upon their beds. Psalm 149 can be divided into two stanzas, where the first stanza, verses 1 through 4, invokes praise primarily looking back to the past acts of the Lord. The second stanza, verses 5 through 9, invokes praise looking forward to his future acts. At the